Well, I want to thank today's sponsors, T-Stud. T-Stud is a simple concept, a thermally broken insulated wall stud assembly for use in exterior walls and party walls. Made right in Minnesota, the T-Stud is a new building product that uses 2 machine stress-rated MSR, or number 2 lumber members, an internal truss system, and a frothed-in-place closed-cell foam. These extremely straight, uniform studs make square construction a breeze. Conventional 2x6 lumber needs a 5 to 12% call rate to avoid bowed, warped, and cupped boards. Using the T-Stud, the call rate is virtually 0. Based on some initial testing, a 4 to 7 point drop on the HERS index rating energy efficiency over standard 2x6 wall construction, nearly as efficient as continuous insulation for an estimated 1/4 the cost. The T-Stud wall assembly comprises all of the members needed to build an exterior or interior wall, including the top plates, bottoms, sill plates, under the windows, all wall studs and cripples, most headers in construction today up to an 8-inch wide opening without snow load. T-Stud is constructed of 2 opposing wood members with a foam core and 2 wood members that are held together with a proprietary truss, which gives the T-Stud its strength. Providing 90% improvement in noise control over 2x6 framing can be used for interior walls and around bathrooms or laundry rooms. Bonus, T-Stud is developing a 2x8 stud, which is going to help you get closer to those passive house numbers or thicker walls for achieving zero energy most cost effectively. Head over to tstud.com today to learn more. All right, well, welcome everybody to Understanding the ResNet Home Energy Rating System, or otherwise known as the HERS Index. This course is approved for 1 hour and continuing education units. To name a few special ones, LEED AP Homes, Certified Passive House Consultant, and BPI Non-Whole House CEUs. It's also approved for AIA HSW, which may make it applicable for your state-based design or contractor license. Today I'll be your moderator. My name is Brett Little, and I am the Executive Director here at the nonprofit The Green Home Institute. We have a mission to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the renovation and construction of the places we live. So today we're going to be talking about what is the HERS Index rating, the basics of it, and how does it fit into the concepts of LEED for home certification and other green building certifications. And before we get started introducing our speaker today, we're going to open up a quick poll for all of you to take. Just 4 simple answers. The first 2 have more to do with your familiarity with HERS, and then 3 and 4, if you are familiar with the HERS Index rating, just getting a little more information on how familiar you are with it. So take a second to take that poll, and then we will get started. Well, thanks everyone for taking that quick poll, and I want to introduce our speaker today, Ryan. Ryan has 10 years of experience in energy efficiency, energy policy, building energy codes, and has published more than 24 case studies, reports, and resources on those topics. He spent nearly 6 years at the Institute for Market Transformation, where he led energy code development, adoption, compliance efforts, city and state, and at the city and state and national levels. Prior to joining IMT, Ryan was an ICC fellow at the U.S. Department of Energy Building Energy Codes program. He has also worked at the Georgia Department Community of Affairs, DCA, as a building codes consultant, where he led the adoption and implementation of statewide energy and green building codes. Ryan has successfully completed the HERS class in 2007 and served as an Earthcraft House technical advisor at the South Face Energy Institute, conducting insulation and air sealing inspections and building envelope and duct leakage testing. Ryan holds a LEED accreditation, ICC certified residential energy inspector, holds a bachelor's degree in architecture from Savannah College of Art and Design, and he lives in upstate New York with his wife Amanda and their 3 children. So Ryan, with that, I'll have you take it away. Thanks for joining us.
Great, thanks Brett, and welcome everyone to the webinar. I hope you'll be able to learn something about the HERS Index and ResNet and how HERS relates to various parts of the energy efficiency industry. So what I'm going to cover today, first I'll talk a little bit about what ResNet is. There's many people I find have heard of ResNet, but they're not exactly sure what we do, what our role is. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and then get into the HERS index, which is really the ResNet's primary product, or service that we developed and provide. And then a little bit about what it takes to become a HERS rater. It's quite an intensive process, and I'll talk a little bit about how to become a HERS rater, and then what is involved in the HERS rating process, what HERS raters have to go through in order to rate a home. And then I'll wrap up with how HERS relates to energy codes and utility and green building programs. So there's a big role that HERS plays in each of those things. So first up, what is ResNet? So ResNet was founded in 1995. It's a nonprofit organization. We develop standards. We're a standards-making body, an ANSI-accredited standards-making body, focused on standards around building energy efficiency, rating and certification systems. So a couple of our recent standards include the ResNet ICC Standard 301, which is the Energy Rating Index standard, which is referenced in the Energy Code. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. We also have Standard 380, which addresses duct and envelope leakage testing. We're also working on a water efficiency standard that will go through the ANSI process and will be called the Water Rating Index. So there's a ResNet version of that right now that we just finished called HERS H2O. So if you're involved at all in water efficiency, expect the announcements about a pilot project for HERS H2O, which essentially will provide a whole home water rating as the HERS index, as you'll see, does for energy efficiency. ResNet created and also maintains what's known as the Mortgage Industry National Home Energy Rating System Standards, often referred to as MINHERS. The early creation of ResNet and the HERS index involved the mortgage industry because they were interested in a way that where energy efficiency could be recognized within the mortgage process. And so that was kind of the origins of the HERS index very early on in the late 90s. And then ResNet also sets the standards for certification of HERS raters and also the quality assurance protocols on HERS ratings. I'll talk about both of those things. So what is the HERS index? When it comes right down to it, the HERS index is a means of measuring or quantifying the energy efficiency of a home. It is an asset-based rating. In other words, it's only based on the physical features of the home and does not include occupant behavior. There are assumptions for occupant behavior, but the rating itself is based on the physical characteristics of the home. Typically, a home that meets the 2006 Energy Code, or is about compliant with 2006 construction standards, would get a HERS index score of about 100. Each 1 point change within the index represents a 1% change in energy use. So the lower the score, the better. If you have a HERS index score of 0, that's approximately a net zero energy home, or a home that produces as much energy as it uses on an annual basis. The real purpose behind the HERS index is to be able to compare houses one to another and see what their relative level of energy efficiency is on the HERS index scale. So the general concept of an energy rating, a question that often comes up is, how is it rated? What is it compared against in the rating? And the reference home, all rated homes are, and the reference home is automatically generated by the energy modeling software. The rater will input the component the home that they're rating into the software, and the software generate the reference exact component. And the baseline number is based on it's established in the 2006 International Energy Conservation Code, and also based on federal equipment standards as well. So the reference home scores about 100 on the HERS index, and then the rated home, depending on its construction, may score better, or it may score worse, depending on how it's built. So the HERS index applies to both new and existing homes. Now, most commonly, it's new homes that are receiving HERS ratings. However, in certain states and within certain utility territories where there are incentives to get a HERS rating on an existing home, you may see higher numbers there. But by and large, the vast majority of homes that receive HERS ratings are new construction homes. So it can be single family, but it can also be duplexes as well as multifamily homes that are getting a HERS rating. Over the last few years, HERS has really gained in popularity. Back in just almost a year ago now, we eclipsed 2 million homes that have been HERS rated and included in the ResNet registry. And what's interesting about that is it basically took over 10 years to achieve the first million, but we achieved the second million in half that time. So the popularity is increasing quite significantly, and we're expecting, we typically see year-over-year gains for the last, I believe, 4 or 5 years. We've seen year-over-year gains in the number of homes that are HERS rated, and we expect over 200,000 homes per year and growing to be added to the registry. Here's some statistics from 2017 based on housing type. So the registry captures the type of home that's being entered, and that's either single family, a duplex, or multifamily. And as you can see, with 77% of homes last year that were rated were single family homes, and the average index score for all of them was a 61. Multifamily is growing. We do have a multifamily HERS rating guideline. The next version of the energy rating index standard will also incorporate a multifamily section. So we're seeing the numbers on the multifamily side increasing quite significantly. In 2017, 15% of rated homes were multifamily units. And the number there is for actual units and not individual buildings. I'm seeing that there were a couple questions that came in. I'll go ahead and take a crack at a couple of them now. One of them asks, is there anything in Standard 380 that would prevent a builder from blower door testing their home? How about an HVAC company testing their own ducts? There's not. So that is not something that's addressed within Standard 380. That is something that's included within the code. And so doing the requirement for doing blower door testing or duct leakage testing is one that's found in the energy code. And so it depends on what state you're in, or even your local jurisdiction. If you don't have a statewide code, or if the local jurisdiction has amended that code, it would be their requirement on whether it has to be an independent third party do the testing, or if an HVAC company could test their own ductwork.
Ryan, I wanted to follow up on that question and just kind of ask broadly, does a HERS index rating have to be third party, and if not, do you see a lot of firms doing their own HERS index ratings?
So under the energy code, so yes, it does have to be a third party according to the energy code. So if you're doing something under the energy rating index, and I'll get into a little more detail on that later, but that requires an independent or an approved third party to do the compliance verification with the energy rating index.
But if you're just trying to do a market-based rating that's outside of any kind of code requirements, does it require a third party?
It doesn't. I don't believe it does. I don't think there's anything that requires that be a third party. I'm not aware that there are any builders that have an in-house HERS person. That's meaning they're doing their own ratings. I'm not sure that I'm not aware of that happening. Not to say it hasn't or doesn't, but I don't think it's common if it happens at all. And even if that's the case, that the HERS rater, and I'll talk a little bit about this as well later, the HERS rater has to be attached to a quality assurance provider, and that person is responsible for doing quality assurance on all their ratings.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm assuming in this market, no builder has time to do this right now. So.
Right. Yeah. So the National Renewable Energy Lab did a study last year based on 2016 HERS rated homes. They found that 22% of all new homes received a HERS rating in 2016. And then they also provided on a state-by-state basis the number of homes that were HERS rated compared to in comparison to new homes built in 2016 for that state. You'll see there's a few states that jump out that exceed 50%. That's Iowa, Indiana, and Massachusetts that all exceed 50% of homes receiving a HERS rating in 2016. And a state that I often get a question on is California, and why is the California number down at 2%? And the reason for that is that as California does with many things, they have their own California HERS, and so homes that receive a California HERS rating do not get entered into the ResNet National Registry, and so those homes are not included there. There is hope, however, that will be changing, although the time frame on that I'm unsure of. So when it comes down to the benefit to builders, the builders are, because new homes are the vast majority of HERS rated homes. It really comes down to a decision by the builder. It's really the builder who's making the choice to get their homes HERS rated. And it comes down to a few things. One of them is that with the energy rating index path in the energy code now, some builders are finding it's easier to do to achieve a target score through a HERS rating instead of having to follow the prescriptive path on the code. And oftentimes they find that because there's a lot more flexibility in how they achieve compliance, they actually will see cost savings. And we do have there has been some studies done on this from the leading builders of America that found that builders could actually save, I believe it was about $1,300 in using the energy rating index path compared to the prescriptive path, even when you account for the cost of the HERS rating. Quality assurance is another big one. Having a HERS rater involved with the project and getting a home HERS rated involves a HERS rater on site a minimum of 2 times, and having that extra set of eyes is provides a big level of quality assurance to the builder that there is an independent person that's coming in and evaluating certain aspects of their home. And oftentimes HERS raters will tell you that they find issues where that they point out to the builder, and it's something that will help prevent callbacks in the future, which is what a lot of the larger builders, the larger production builders, have seen, that it can actually by getting a HERS rating, it's reducing the number of callbacks and warranty claims that they have, which is really important to the large, for-profit, publicly traded companies. I see a couple more questions popping up. Let me get to those. next one says, what is the estimated HERS scores on homes built in the IECC 2012, 2015, and 2018 code standards? I don't have those off the top of my head, but there was a PNNL, the Pacific Northwest National Lab, which houses the Department of Energy's Building Energy Codes program, has done studies to look at what a home would score based on, I think, the 2009 and 2012 and possibly the 2015 versions of the IECC, and provided some standards to that. If you go to energycodes.gov, you can find that study.